Imagine if you do something because of a calling without any ability to see what you'll get out of it. We do too much stuff for the guarantee of what we'll get. It's when you don't need to know what you'll get, but you can feel it's right. You follow that and you will know the universe like you've never seen before. I have to tell you, I got a few stories for you, just a few, just sudden parenting tips just that showed up for me while understanding I have one child that's 4. I know many of you have probably more children that are older, so how dare I give you a parenting tip? This is just something I discovered this weekend. You don't have to take it. But it does really help me look at the power of meditation, because yesterday, before I woke up, before, Vivi and I woke up, Vivi stays with me on Friday through Monday nights, and before we got up, I meditated for 2 hours. And I do pretty much every day, but I just really heard this calling in me that I'm going to expand on in a little bit, about how there's nothing to let go of because there's nothing we're holding on to. And I just felt this freedom in myself as I was on a frequency where it was like, there's nothing you have to hold on to. So it's just like, how about we have a day where we almost never have the phone? And I just got up with Vivi and I just left the phone in the bedroom for quite a bit of the first, 6 hours or whatever, and found this presence in me. She wanted to, and she changed. You know what she wanted to watch? She craved and asked for Mr. Rogers. Now, usually Vivi likes more cartoony stuff or whatever, but it was almost like the show she wanted matched the frequency that I was. So here's Mr. Rogers just looking in the camera and just teaching me presence on a level that I'm still learning, how he sits there and talks and holds space while he talks and cares so much about a child being seen. And Vivi, watched probably 2 episodes, and I was just cleaning around the house, which already is a different thing. The frequency that I was found so much meaning in just little things here and there. And then when it was done, we talked a lot. And first we talked about, she was interested in fire because I was lighting a candle. And we really got into learning how fire works and what it is, and how water puts out fire. So we would actually, with a very parentally supervised setting, light a match and then we drop it in water. And it was just mind blowing that the fire can hurt your hand and water can put out fire, but water doesn't hurt your hand. And I was thinking to myself how much the water is like the universe, right? It's like, I'm more powerful than that. And I don't hurt, right? And so that analogy came. And then we were just, we built a fire in the backyard. We have a little fireplace in the backyard, and we sat and we just were fascinated by it and how it can get big and how it can be so scary. And then just a little bit of water, the stuff that we shower in, just puts it out. And I was noticing a frequency change as I was just present, very little with the phone, other than to text a couple people about how much I'm not on the phone. And then Vivi and I decided to go to a park, and we went to a park that had a lake on it. And we spent, I'm going to show you just some of the cutest pictures ever. We spent, because this all ties to a thing here. It's not just me going, okay, look at my kid. It's like, this was crazy. We went to play. She played at a playground, and we also got on a lake and rented a paddle boat. Hold on, I'm going through a ton of pictures here of Vivi playing with bubbles and having the most present day ever. Just, I don't know how much you can see here. It's just this little girl. And then we were in the paddle boat first, though. And, just this present day where still so much was getting done. I mean, this is the cutest picture ever. I don't know the level that I can show where it doesn't lose focus, but look at that happy girl. And one of the things we did was we paddled to the middle of the lake. We held hands and we sang Sailing by Christopher Cross. I'm not kidding. It's one of her favorite songs. Vivi loves Sailing, takes me away, while a breeze was hitting us. I mean, and I was kind of thinking about yesterday how much, we worry about our future. And if I asked you, what would you rather do? Would you rather have 6 months of the most present, incredible days ever that end after 6 months? Or would you rather have 50 years of non-presence, right? 50 years of just existing, right? Watching Maury Povich and just existing and constantly being in the future. And I'm like, I'd rather make a memory now than be in the constant anticipation of the future. And I really believe with all my heart that actually changes the future. I mean, if I'm sitting here on one frequency that's just totally in my head or on the phone, I'm in this place where I'm actually kind of asking for it. I'm like, I'm scared of this. I'm scared of this. I'm scared of this. And I've said this before, but we live our lives protecting a life we're not living. And I'd rather fully live it and let whatever the water is protect it. I'd rather connect to the water, right? And one of the things that I was thinking of that we often say is you got to raise your frequency. And I realize that's actually an egoic concept, to raise your frequency. Instead of thinking of you raising your frequency, I want to offer you to connect to the frequency that's here. That's just at a different frequency, and it requires the letting go of every concept you got. Like when I meditate, I don't have an intention. I don't have a plan. I don't have a specific thing that I'm telling God I want the answer to. I have to throw away everything and just listen. And yesterday it gave me something amazing. Yesterday it said, you don't have anything to let go of, because you're not holding on to anything. And it said, now people can trick themselves into that they are on a smaller frequency and believe they have to hold on to these things. But the longer I listen, the more it starts breaking apart even the concept of Kyle Cease being a thing. That all the little concepts of what we are. I mean, if you listen long enough, it starts cutting that up. First, it cuts up the frequencies of what everyone else is or what you're worried about in the future. All of that future shit is a denial of something here, because all the things you're running from are just clouds. But when you're constantly in okay, I'm going to fix this, you're kind of under the illusion these clouds are harder and denser and more real than they are. They're just passing clouds. And I'm just here, and I can't raise my frequency because that requires a future. Do you get what I'm saying? I just want to offer you, if you let go of all the concepts of the separate self, if you let go of all the story of what you are, if you let go of all the plans of what is supposed to happen in your meditation, you'll be shocked at what it's got for you. But how could it have it for you if you still got one foot in the old frequency? How can you grab this frequency that's here while having the intention from the heavier frequency, right? I'm listening to you. Now, what's the answer to this thing? What's the answer to this relationship? What's the answer to this thing? And usually it'll take care of anything that you would have had as a question, but it does it in its order. It goes, first of all, be here, just be here. And I want you to let go of these questions, because only the ego has those questions. Only the separate self is curious about that. And the meditation for the 2 hours set me up for an insane day with my daughter. I mean, complete presence. Just the only shows we watched were Mr. Rogers teaching her about grandparents, teaching her, and then we talked about fire, and then she learned about gravity, because we also went to the pool and we sat in a pool and a hot tub and talked about these concepts. And I would rather her just have a present father, right? And I just want you to know those little meditations add up so much. Like the whole day was a completely different day, right? That then we went to a park and then we sat and sang sailing. And then, we got a toy that's a baby shark that swims automatically in the water. And she sat at the edge of the lake playing with it. Then she went to a playground and we got bubbles. And I'm telling you, we played with bubbles and on the park for hours and hours as she met other kids and played. And because I didn't have that I need to be somewhere else thing, I just enjoyed being there while she did that, watching her fully live the day and get tired and come home and just have this like completed feeling in her heart. Then we came home, we watched one more Mr. Rogers. She said voluntarily how tired she is. And this is really, really, really profound. Nicole just said, who is Mr. Rogers? Well, plan to cry a lot. Now, one thing Vivi does that really is an amazing reflection to me is she often has a little doll baby and says the same thing to the doll that I say. So if I'm like, Vivi, it's time to brush your teeth, Vivi will turn to the doll and say, we need to brush your teeth. And she becomes a mother to this doll, right? So I get to hear everything I say and watch how I parent because Vivi literally will mirror it by doing the same thing. I'm working on Vivi getting to go pee by herself and coming back to her room without waking me up, because she often wakes me up and wants me to hold her hand. And I'm trying to teach her that she will get so much more out of me, or when she's with her mom, the same thing, if she lets us sleep. So she's working on it by herself. And some nights she does it, she pulls it off. And some nights she comes into like my room and says, I'll be in the deepest sleep of my life. Last night I was in a stand-up comedy club instead teaching meditation, and the crowd was at first disappointed and then really liked it. And I was feeling really good. And then Vivi just opens the door. Dada, can you come hold my hand? I mean, I was in the deepest sleep. I go, okay, hon. And I go into a room and I hold her hand. I go, baby, I thought you were going to let daddy sleep tonight. Were you not wanting to do that? And I go, how come you woke dad up? And she goes, she literally said, because I love you and want to be with you. This was last night. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the answer that I need. And she goes, can I hold your hand? And I sit with her and hold her. And I'm losing sleep, but I just meditate and hold her hand and I get more connected. And this morning, I don't know, about 6:30, she came into my room, woke me up again and goes, Dad, can we play? And I go, how about you let daddy sleep a little more and you go play with your doll or something. I'll be right there. And she goes, I'll just sit on the floor here. And then she sits on the floor with her doll and starts telling her doll that she needs the doll to let her sleep. I need you to let me sleep. I'm going to be a better mama if you let me sleep. So I'm woken up by her teaching her doll that she needs to sleep. So the doll then, of course, I was waiting for the doll to have a second doll and just you just hear this row, I need to sleep, I need to sleep, I need to sleep. But I got to say that the value of the day, I mean, I also felt, it's weird because the day felt so in a good way long. Like I felt that I had a year's worth of insights yesterday. And I just want to point out how much more day you can get when you're on the true frequency of here, right? Like, and a lot of people don't want that. They go, I'm going to be bored or whatever. But if you really accept it and you really are here, you really go, wow, a day is a lot. Like a day is a lot. You can get a lot done in a day. And usually it feels like days go by because we are so in the future or so checking our phone and in this kind of egoic construct that we're missing each moment. And you can't raise your frequency because that requires an egoic timeline that's actually an escape from the true now frequency that's here. So instead of trying to raise your frequency, let go, which you can't even let go of, but listen to the now. And the more you listen to the now, it's like the now is going to come in and force you to let go. And then you start to realize things like forgiveness aren't necessarily your choice. They're the truth of what you are if you keep listening. If you keep listening to the now, it goes, okay, I need to purge this addictive story you have about what a victim you are from that thing. So I'm going to bring it to light. And a lot of times people start to feel it brought to light and they're about to purge an aspect of themselves. So they stop meditating because they think it's death to meditate. And it's never death. It's death to a false you. And this is my offer, is the only thing that can die is a false you. If you meditate long enough, you're going to feel like dying a lot of times. But that's because it wants to take the you that protected yourself from being abandoned and purge it. It wants to take the you that was abused and purge it. It wants to help you bring those things to light. So I've noticed this week, I've had a lot of people telling me they've been having panic attacks. They've been having, really dark stuff at night. They've been, the light's shining past your protective self and it's getting into the real you and it's starting to see the real you. The light's coming in. So if you're trying to live still as the protective self that stops light from coming in, it's going to get more and more painful. If you allow the light to come in to the all of you that's here, it can heal that. There's a you, a lot of us, there's an us that is like the bouncer in front of a house, right? It's like I'm the guard in front of the house. So there could be an avoidant part of you that you think is you, and that you're not really letting things in because when you were a kid, you let people in and they hurt you. So now you don't let everything in. You don't let God in, you don't let the now in. You don't let people show you stuff. You're not interested in going beyond you, right? So that can be the guard that you accidentally call me, and that when you meditate long enough will be purged, right? Or you could have a guard that's like very fixy and don't come into my heart and really, really meet me, but I'm going to make sure everything's okay because I'm scared you're going to abandon me. And we let that go too. And you just are filled with this light, right? Right? That's what's going on right now. We're just filled. Life is trying to fill you with light. And when we are in a constant fear of what will happen in the future, we're on a frequency that's not true. And it's a patterned frequency that you keep yourself on because it would be death to what you think you are to be the house versus the guard of the house. It's just you purging your story about money or your story about how relationships should be or what you to listen, to truly listen to source. You release all concepts. You release all of the ways that you've decided this needs to go. You release even what you're supposed to learn. Often before the call, teammates and I will say a prayer, and I just felt even like sitting there and saying thank you, God, for this, blah blah blah. I felt like a dip in frequency. I was just like, God, I don't know, whatever you want me to say will come through. Even saying thank you for this feels separate to me. It felt like a dip in vibration. So I just said that. I just acknowledged that what comes through is you, and I'm merged with you, and as much as I can be, and I will be as authentic as I can be. And that's all I got, And this morning when I meditated, I had started with, okay, I'm going to go back to where I was yesterday about there's nothing to let go of. And it goes, you're trying to bring that concept into your meditation, right? In other words, yesterday's now is now yesterday, and you're trying to go back to that concept versus hear what I have for you now. It's different now. So a lot of times when you meditate, you go, okay, I want to get back to where I was yesterday. And it's like, no, throw it all out now. Throw everything out and listen. And sometimes you can't throw it out and it goes, okay, bring it up and I'm still here. And we just look at it and it moves from being a tangible thing you got to fix to a kind of slippery thing that's leaving. So instead of seeing it as you need to raise your vibration, see it as there's a now vibration here, and you can't find it with your mind. You just listen, right? And that you have a bar here that's the frequency we're used to. That's the check the phone all day frequency. And then there's a bar here that's now, that is the water that is here. That you're just grabbing a higher ladder rung that's always existing. And don't see it as a tangible rung. It's like, let go of even the mind knowing what it looks like and just listen here. This is at one point going to be the only authority you have. I have a really hard time now finding truth in almost every what's going on politically, what's going on even on the opposing of what you know as the mainstream narrative. Like what you hear as the mainstream narrative doesn't feel true, but then there's also a conspiracy side that's debunking it that also is more and more feeling pendulum swung this way. And then you're just holding space for, I don't know. And what if it's just now? Do you get this? Like, what if it's just now? And that's the only truth. And we stop saying third density knows. What if you're water and you're looking for the truest fire? It's like, connect to the water and we'll put it all out. But connect to the water and don't look to watch and see if it's put all out. Just connect to the water. And then I'll purge whatever wounds are sitting inside that the external circumstances are trying to knock out of you. Right here, right? So obviously, if you just hear me say this, you're going to understand this with your mind. And I'm going to dare you to make this call so much more valuable by joining me in listening to I don't know. And undo the need for it to be a tangible understanding. A tangible understanding might come through, but often people meditate for 10 minutes and go, I'm not getting anything. No, you're not getting anything you can egoically identify. That doesn't mean shit's not happening. Do you understand that? There's a difference, right? Do you get this? Know that even if you can't find any proof that any meditation is working, that it's working. You're looking through a tiny, tiny, tiny lens. It's like, imagine if you were getting your car fixed, but you're only able to look at like one thing. Like imagine if you're like, yeah, I'm looking, I don't see anything. And you're looking under the hood at the engine. I don't see that you fixed anything. But while the hood's up, they're fixing the tires and rotating them and changing everything that's not under the hood. But you just have the small view of looking under the hood. So you can't see all the other shit that they're doing. I mean, you don't need to know the specifics of what's being changed, and you have to just understand it's happening even if you don't see it, You can only see through this little lens. That's where you change your life, where you start to really understand. You can feel, and like I remember when I do events, I do live events, and someone would say, I didn't get anything out of the meditation. I was like, well, your problem is you tried to get something out of it. I don't know why I'm meditating. Who's needing to know why? When you can start meditating without the why, imagine how much more of life you could experience that you would do without knowing the why. I mean, a why can trap you. Let's talk about that for a second. A why you're doing something can trap you. Let's say you say to someone, I love you so much. I love your smile. I love your voice. Okay, well, if they get in an accident and those things go away, that means you don't love them anymore. Your why just totally shrunk your love, right? There's a condition, there's a why, okay? If you go into a meditation and you need a why, then you're very addicted to being able to see what you get out of something before you do it. So that type of person would be very likely to take a job they don't like because they see it pays well, but they don't necessarily follow their heart, which is full of, I'm not going to tell you why, follow me and you'll learn why. Do you understand that? The heart goes, just do it. I don't come with a why. Every decision I've made that was really the magical thing was based on a feeling without any evidence of what would come of it, what I would get from it. It's when you have the guarantee of what you'll get that you can be trapped because you already see from the ego at the very beginning what you're going to get out of it. So then you just do it and you get it and you're screwed. It's the same thing that you already knew you were going to get. So there's no expansion there. Expansion happens when you do something based on a feeling and don't know why. Expansion happens when you feel a calling and you don't know why you're following it. Yesenia says, did your fully present day yesterday feel like an all-day meditation? Yes. Yes. I was emotional. I mean, where else do I need to get than sitting on a paddle boat with my daughter holding her hand singing, sailing takes me away? I mean, how about making a day that you'll never forget each day? How do you do that? By getting here. It's about presence. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's about presence. So imagine if you do something because of a calling without any ability to see what you'll get out of it. We do too much stuff for the guarantee of what we'll get. It's when you don't need to know what you'll get, but you can feel it's right. You follow that and you will know the universe like you've never seen before. So I'm going to dare you to undo your why we're meditating. I'm going to dare you to undo what you'll get out of this meditation, because what's trying to come in is bigger than everything you can perceive you would get. Did you get that? Everything trying to come into your life is actually 1,000,000 times bigger than why you could have mentally come up with. Oh, I want to do this. I can see that I'd make a ton of money if I did this. It's got magic, crazy shit that's on a frequency way bigger than money. It's trying to take you to something bigger. Now, here's my funny thing. I know how I got some good whys. I'm in meditation. Like, I know if I do this, I'll shift the planet. And it's like, I got better shit than that for you. It's like I don't even have the desire to shift the planet. Like, just listen to me. I got a new thing for you every day. Undo any expectation of what you'll get out of it. Be with me. Undo any guarantee, because what I have for you is bigger with everything you do. So I'm going to dare you. I'm going to dare you Ashley says, I'm investing so I get rich. Is this a why? I'm not saying you can't do that. There's times where I'm like, I'm going to the fridge because I know there's food in it. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying the ultimate version of yourself is also when you start understanding how to follow callings that might not make any sense to the mind, which means they're about to be death to that ego. Did that make sense? You'll have a calling that is so big that it won't make sense to the mind, which means that following it will be death to a part of your ego. It's a frequency that wants to kill a pattern and do things that are new, and you become bigger than any pattern that you can find. So even when I meditate so that it changes the world, I'm still way too small and I'm still running the show. Meaning egoically. So I want to dare you to undo the why are we doing this right now? I want to dare you to undo an expectation of what you'll get out of this that comes from what you've seen so far. All expectations come from the highest you understand so far. Even if it's something bigger than you've ever experienced, it still comes from what you know of from a much smaller plane than what you actually are. And what you actually are is like, I got bigger stuff. Have you ever had it where, here's a great example. Have you ever had it where you're with a kid and the kid really knows what they want and you have something they're going to like more, right? Like you have a gigantic present for them and they just want that small thing that they think matters as much. And there's another thing and you're like, would you just let me show you this? And by the way, sometimes the small thing is what they want, but I think you get where I'm trying to go with this. You can see they don't know the whole thing. Like sometimes Vivi will be like, I just want that thing. And I'm like on taking her to Disneyland as a surprise and she doesn't know it, right? Or something like that. And she believes that's the thing. And it's like, that's the highest she can see. And by the way, sometimes that analogy doesn't work because it turns out she actually still wanted the thing. But I think you get what I'm saying. She's like, no, I don't care about Disneyland. I want bubble wrap. But still, a lot of times, there's a bigger thing for them. God's the same way with you. The universe is the same way with you. It's got a bigger thing for you. I agree. Vivi's the best pathway for me. Everyone take a deep breath in. This is a special sacred call. You can still have the little thing, Andrea, who asked the question. I'm not saying don't ever get what you want. I'm just offering you that you can change what you are and find a new world and a new magical bunch of synchronicities and miracles and freedom. When you get those little callings and you undo the why and what you'll get out of it, and just follow it. Don't know why. What if we just drove to the park? I thought I was going to walk around a lake with Vivi. I didn't know they had paddle boats. I wasn't even including all the stuff we did. I didn't even know there was a playground there. I just was like, we'll walk around a lake. Good. 7 or 8 hours combined of the most amazing day. Surprises there. It had bigger than I saw. My meditation yesterday morning carried the whole day. I thought it was about getting to some calm place or something, right? It's like, undo the why, undo the why. Don't know what you're getting out of something. Learn to follow the feeling without the guarantee. That's what causes people to be trapped. I hate this job, but it pays me. That guarantee is trapping you. It's always got something bigger than your guarantee. And the more you do this, the more you realize you don't have anything to let go of because the part of you that was holding on doesn't exist. Did you get that? The part of you that was holding on doesn't even exist. You just haven't seen outside of it. One more metaphor and then we'll do this. Today, one of the things Vivi and I had was we had bubbles, big bubbles, like the huge ones, you know? And I said, so what is this? What is this bubble? Well, it's soap trapping air. And when the bubble pops, what happens to the air? It becomes free. The death of a bubble from the outside looks like the whole bubble's gone, but just the soap that was in the plastic container is gone. It's actually still there. It's just on the floor. But the truth of what the bubble is you have to move the thing. It's really the air. And what makes the bubble bigger? There's more air in it. Whoa, that bubble's huge. And then it pops and the air is free. You're the air. You're the air, and we think we're the soap. We're saving the soap. That's the old dimension.